guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Katie here with Life in the Mundane. I'm so glad you're watching today. And if you are new to my channel, I want to introduce myself briefly. I am a homeschool mom of 6. I'm a second generation homeschooler and I love sharing tips and tricks for how to make the most of the little moments in homeschooling, home management, parenting, and everything in between. If those are topics that interest you, I would love if you would take a quick second to subscribe to my channel below and click the little bell notification so you get notified when new videos come out. Today, we're going to be talking about language lessons for living education. I've done a review already on math lessons for living education done by Master Books, and today we're going to look at the language component of it. And I'm going to share with you some things that I feel like are must-knows, things you have to know before you jump into the program. We recently did this year. We started mid-year due to a move and some craziness in our life and needing something more open and go. And so there were some things I was really surprised by that I just wanted to share that might help you prepare or might help you to decide if this is a curriculum that might be a good fit for you or not. So let's get started. So first things first, I chose to get the digital download. That way you only buy the book once and then you can print multiple copies as long as it's for people in your family. And but as you can see, it's a fairly large book. This isn't even all the pages to it actually. So it's very thick. You want to make sure that you have a cost-effective way to print this. If I had printed this out on my home printer, I really don't think I would have been saving any money. I ended up using my HSLDA discount and taking it to Office Depot and was able to get it for a reasonable price. The only thing I will say about that is in order to make it economical, I needed to print it in black and white. So that meant that a lot of the wonderful features like the picture studies that are within the art studies that are within the curriculum really weren't that effective. Not fault to Masterbook at all, but just because I had printed it in black and white. So just a tip to know with this, if you decide to go this route, it can still be a fantastic way to save money, but you might either want to hand select the pages that do need to be in color, and that's primarily just the picture study pages, or you might want to choose to print it in black and white and then just pull the book up on your tablet or your phone to show your children the pictures when you get to that point. That was my original intent, but just with the busyness of school, I found it very rarely happened. So I just thought I'd share that little tip with you guys as you're preparing for next school year. It's still a great idea to get the digital copy, but if you like everything to be all color, you're probably going to come out cheaper just to buy the actual book, especially if you don't have multiple students that are going to be going through it. So just a little tip there. So I just want to say before I jump into more details about this curriculum, this is not going to be a flip through review. It's not going to be super detailed as far as what can you expect and how is the curriculum laid out. But what it is going to be is a few things I love about the curriculum. It's going to be a few things that I really feel like you need to know before you go this route with this curriculum. And then at the end, just a few things that I didn't really care for as much. Now that's my personal opinion. I'm in no way trying to dissuade you from purchasing this curriculum, and honestly, the things I dislike might be things that you love about it. But really, truly, it's just to share with you some thoughts that might get you thinking about whether this curriculum is a good fit for you. So first off, what are some things I like? First of all, it is short, easy lessons. That's something Master Books does amazing at. So you can spend 10, 15, no more than 20 minutes by any means, but usually 5 to 10 minutes doing a lesson of language. They like the idea of the Charlotte Mason theory of short, consistent lessons and being able to absorb more that way. So love the fact that it's short lessons. I love the layout that it is labeled by the day and it has a suggested schedule at the beginning. We usually can go faster than the suggested schedule, but that's okay. I like having that already done for me. The third thing I love about it is the fact that it covers a lot of different material. So it's a complete language arts curriculum, so it covers your phonics, your grammar, your spelling, your writing, and then it also covers things like picture studies, poetry, observation skills, like showing you a picture and then asking you to pick which sentence goes best with that picture. So I love the fact that it does cover a lot of things. And of course, with it being a Master Books book, we know that it comes from a Christian-based perspective, and I love the fact that that is interwoven throughout. A couple things you need to know about this curriculum before you jump in. Phonics-wise, it does cover some basic phonics rules. However, if your child is not just a supernatural reader, I find that it probably won't be intensive enough for actual reading instruction. So I would probably tend to supplement. We're doing all about reading, but you could pick something else. But I really think that it's going to need that extra component, because otherwise it's more just sharing a phonics rule and there's not a whole lot of practice with that. So some kids they're just natural readers, and that's not going to be an issue for you. Or maybe you have your own thing that you're doing practicing on the side. That's great, but I feel like more the phonics instruction that they're giving is probably leaning more towards teaching you the spelling component than it is to teaching you the reading component. So just be aware of that and decide what's right for your child based on that information. Another thing you need to know is that this curriculum does not come with the teacher's book, because the teacher's book is interwoven to the student book. So that means that there's instruction within the lesson, but do not make this critical mistake. I made this mistake only because we were picking up the curriculum mid-year. If we had started at the beginning of the year, I usually do a pretty intensive overlook of the curriculum we're getting ready to use. But one thing I neglected to do was to look through extensively the beginning instruction of the book and the ending supplements. And part of that is that because there's not as much instruction or a separate teacher's book, they give a lot of explanation. I skimmed it, but I didn't fully read it. They give a lot of explanation of how this program can work. Possibly some different struggles you might have with it and kind of how to resolve those. It gives you ideas of spelling games to work on with the spelling rules, which I'll get to in just a second. It gives you supplemental work at the back if you feel like your child needs additional help and practice. So anyways, there was a few frustrations I had initially because I didn't read that as intensely, especially with the spelling program. But then after I went back and read it, I at least know that they offered that. It didn't really change my specific concerns with the spelling program, and that was just simply that I didn't feel like there was clear instructions or enough practice with it. But it did give ideas for games and activities you could do to practice the spelling. I love the ideas they gave, and I have used several of them, but I also was hoping this would be a little more open and go. So because of that, I like the hands-on approach, but just for what we were looking for this year, we were looking for something that was more all-in-one and not requiring me to be more creative or come with extra stuff, just because we were in the middle of a move. But normally I would like that hands-on component. So just something to think about. And to my next point of just with the spelling list, be prepared that you're going to need to they have in the back of the book a list of all of the spelling lists and the different words. You're probably going to want to keep that copy out or print an additional copy or photocopy an additional copy to have out so that you can go, because they have the spelling list at the end of every lesson, which is great if your kids are able to do those spelling words and to master those in a week. But I found that my kids' level of being able to master those was a little bit slower than their ability to master some of the other skills being taught. So they ended up, being in lesson 4 or 5, but being on spelling list 2 or 3. So I just started to separate the spelling altogether. And we just worked on the next lesson or the next list of spelling words and just skipped over all the spelling related pages until we mastered that list. And then we would go back and do those pages once they had gotten closer to working on the list that they were supposed to be working on. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. So that's another thing you might want to consider, is just that you might need to separate that skill, just because it can be a little harder for kids to keep the pace with that compared to learning, simple grammar rules or things like that. So into a few of the things that I didn't care for, guys. I always really hate to say anything negative at all about a curriculum, but this is honestly just what didn't work for us. And that is the writing component of this program. I felt like this was a big weakness for my children, and honestly, I feel like a portion of the component to why the writing didn't work was maybe not even necessarily their fault in the way they wrote the program, but just more didn't work for my kids and their abilities and their skill set. But basically, the way they do the writing, you always tackle the writing on the 4th day of the lesson, and a lesson takes 1 week, and they would go in, they would give you a writing prompt. They would encourage your child to give you a full story orally, which I loved, that because kids do tend to have better narration skills verbally than they do being able to physically write. So I love the fact they did that. And then you would simply draw a picture of your story and write 1 sentence to begin with that describes your story, and then building up to 2, and so on and so forth. So I did like that aspect of it, but what I didn't like is that all the writing prompts heavily based on creative writing. And to not have any real writing instruction, I mean, they did cover, the beginning of a sentence should be a capital letter and basic punctuation, but to not really have any further, like, how do you structure a sentence, or can you give me examples of this? I don't know. It just, for my kids, just giving them an open-ended question was overwhelming. I have one son who naturally thinks like this, and he had zero problem. They asked him, what he would do on Noah's Ark if he was on Noah's Ark, and he made this whole elaborate story, and then his 2 sentences that he chose to write were, I would clean up after the animals and feed them, and I would probably end up getting sick because of seasickness. My son, I don't care, as long as he writes it and he spells it correctly, we're all good. But he had no problem coming up with a storyline and thoughts on this. But my other 2 kids that were in this were really struggling with, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I'm not. Anyway, so I think that it just depends on your child. So I really feel like if your child is strong in writing, and strong in creative writing specifically, this is a great program. For my other kids, they really needed more structure and more instruction on how to go forward with it. And so we've actually found a different writing program that I will share more about in my curriculum reveal video that'll be coming out later this month, so be sure to subscribe. But that we're going to be doing that because I think that for at least those 2, it will be a better fit to give them a little bit more structure and to learn from those who know how to write correctly and to know how to see good examples of writing before being asked to just go to creative writing straight away. But again, that depends on your child. The other thing I was not a huge fan of, and I know this is a common concern with math lessons for living education, and I did not have this concern with math lessons, but I felt like when it came to the grammar section, there wasn't always as much instruction as I would have preferred, and I didn't feel like there's enough practice. So usually you have a grammar rule or topic introduced on the second day of the curriculum. It really isn't covered any other day. So they learn that rule, and then in future lessons, it might come back up as they build on it, but there hasn't been any practice in between. Now, to be fair to master books, there is those supplement sheets in the back of the book that can be used to further that skill. So I don't want to misrepresent the curriculum. There is the ability to do that. But I just felt like, honestly, unless your kid was super natural at language arts, which I know there are those that are, that it really wouldn't be enough practice, I would feel like, for any kid. I'm not real big on having lots of drill sheets or, 100 questions or fully diagramming sentences constantly or anything. So I'm not real big into busy work, but I felt like it could use a little bit more. I feel like with the math program, yes, they don't have a ton of quantity of problems, but they sprinkle all the concepts they've already learned all throughout the next several lessons. So they're going to touch on it. If they don't get it the first day, they're going to touch on it several other times. And I just felt like that was missing with this curriculum. But maybe I'm missing something. So you guys can tell me what you think if you guys are using it. Let me know if you guys have found that to be an issue. And I just felt like some of the instruction was not as clear as it needed to be. I felt like there were some where they were just like, this is the rule, here's an example, go. And I just felt like it could have been a little bit more clear. So I really would say this curriculum can be a fantastic choice for going through language arts. It is a complete program. I do feel like because it's covering so many language arts topics in one book and such short lessons, that there's probably a good possibility that even if your child is natural at language arts, there's going to be some fleshing out you're going to need to do as the teacher in one or more areas. And that's not bad. That's not a negative thing at all, but just something you should be prepared for, to know that you might have to put some time into being a little bit more creative or coming up with other things, because I know one of the big benefits of master books is that they're usually pretty open and go. And so I was just sort of surprised that there was more elements to it than what I originally realized. So we won't be continuing with this for next year, but I did want to share that with you guys and our experience. Hopefully it will help you, even, like I said, even if you watch this and you go, oh, nope, that's not for me, my kids are the same way, or if you say, this is exactly why I would want to have it, and my kids are natural language arts kids, totally awesome. I'm glad I could help either way. I hope you guys will join me back. I have some more great homeschooling videos coming out in the month of July. We're going all homeschooling the month of July and talking about fantastic things. I'm going to be doing a homeschool room tour, which I know everybody's really looking forward to. We're going to be doing curriculum reviews and doing a curriculum reveal of what we're doing next year for different subjects. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, comment below, let me know what you guys think. Have you guys tried language lessons for living education? Do you think this would be a good fit for your family? And share this video if it's been helpful. Thanks, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.